Hello, I'm Coda, and welcome to another video. Today I will be doing a full demonstration of how I make a track start to finish. Now this is an idea I've had for a while, but it was sort of expedited due to a recent development in my school. So one of my friends and I talked about in the fall putting together a whole anthology album for our entire band for our school. And basically what this would entail is each one of us, or anyone who wants to in the band, each person makes one song and then submits it to us, and we put together a little bit of money and we get it published on iTunes. So what we realized when we were discussing this with our friends was that many of them don't really know how to use music production software, or really how to put together a track in general. So basically, I decided this first video, being the first big informational one, I decided to show you guys how I make a track. So I thought about this for a while, about how to best go about this, and I decided the best way to do it was to do a cover. So today we will be covering Can't Buy Me Love by the Beatles. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so here we are on the computer. I have two programs that I use often for my music making. I either use this program, Ableton Live 10 Lite, or GarageBand. Both of these programs are free-ish. GarageBand is free if you have a Mac, and Ableton Live is free if you have a device that has a code. You can submit codes, and it's really, really easy to get a code. You can probably find a code somewhere. But for this specific project, we're going to use GarageBand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up and click Empty Project and choose. So this is our main view that we're in, and it's going to ask me to choose a track type. So I'm going to record piano first, so I'm going to click this one, which is a MIDI keyboard. And then, now that that's up, we are ready to start recording. So the first step that I do is I make a structure for the song when I'm making a cover. So I write out where the verses are, where the choruses are, all the transitions, how long each part is, and all that good stuff. And just some general reminders of how to play it. So we're going to do that right now, and then we're going to record it. Alright, so here we are back in the DAW, and this is all the data that we just recorded on the piano. So this data is stored in a different way than some audio would be stored. So this is stored in a type of file called a MIDI file. And basically what these little dots are, every single one of these represents a single note that was played. And you can see they change around, and they're different lengths. The lengths are how long we held them, and they're all displayed down here. So if we drag this up, we can see all these little MIDI notes that were in this file. So basically what that means is that these notes are stored in a way that they can be moved around. This isn't the individual sound that was recorded, but rather the data of when exactly the notes were pressed. So, for example, if we find a wrong note somewhere, sometimes they're obvious. Here's one. So this note is very obviously not supposed to be there. What we can do is we can actually click on that note and delete it, and then it's no longer there. Now it's as if that note never existed. It's as if I never played that note. And you can do that for any notes. So yeah, that's the advantage of recording through MIDI. Now we could go through here and do that independently for every single note, which would be really gross. Or we could do something which is really great for rhythm parts like this, and we can just go in and do something called quantizing. So that's down here in this menu. And basically what quantizing is it takes all those notes that you recorded and it aligns them to a certain time. So a lot of this was triplets. So that sort of feel of that swing feel, which is very, very common in boogie, which this song is a boogie song, that kind of feel, basically what that is 12 little tiny beats per measure. So what we can go in and do is we can select, oh, that's not the right triplet. We can go in and select eighth note triplet. And now all the notes, instead of being sort of misaligned and all sort of gross and everything. So if I sped up, if I slowed down a little bit in the recording, which naturally happens, now that's all fixed. So the one problem with this is that when you do this, a lot of the performance aspect is lost. So if you have a live performance, it's not really going to be that great because it'll be all robotic and weird because you'll be speeding up and slowing down a lot. But for this, where I was playing to a click, and it was, it's not a very, very important part. Like, this piano part is not going to be incredibly prominent throughout this song. So that's why I'm going to go ahead and quantize this. So I'm going to go through and do this for all of these. All right, so now all this is aligned, and this is all good. So now we're going to move on to the other part that I was going to do, which is guitar. So I'm gonna overlay a guitar track on this. So this time I'm going to select new audio track. So right now this is receiving input from the microphone, and you can see it's kind of clipping a little bit. That's just because this is kind of loud, so that it's the right volume in the speakers. So basically what we're going to do now is we're going to unplug the microphone and plug in my amp. And my amp will then be feeding raw sound into this, and we're going to record the guitar part as raw sound, as opposed to recording it with a MIDI file. All right, so here we are back in our DAW. So as you can see, the guitar is this blue part. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over here really quickly and rename this guitar. So basically, the difference between these two files, you can see that they look quite a bit different. Whereas we were talking about earlier how this is MIDI files, this is actually a direct sound wave. So we can go in here and we can actually look at, and if we actually look at it, this is the direct sound wave of the instrument. So the difference with this kind of file is that when you have this, you can't manipulate this file in the same way that you can manipulate the MIDI files. So this is the sound waves, and you can do certain things to it, like you can pitch it down and do other stuff like that. You can make it quieter, you can put effects on it, but you can't. It doesn't have quite the versatility that the MIDI does. So that's why it's a fair bit trickier. However, in some cases you can avoid this. So, like for example, with vocals, vocals have to be in this because, of course, you can't digitally create vocals, at least not reliably yet. Both of these files are equally valid in terms of what they're used for. You can make songs entirely on MIDI. You can make songs entirely through audio. There's no real advantages and disadvantages to either one. One captures the actual values of the notes, and the other captures the general ambiance of a physical instrument. No MIDI file, no matter how good, is going to ever be able to replicate the really, really pure sound of an acoustic instrument. A real deal acoustic guitar is going to be 10 times better than the synthesizer version of it. Yes, you can go over here and select acoustic guitars, but they're not going to sound nearly as good. This classic clean guitar is not going to sound nearly as good as a real deal electric guitar. So I hope you guys learned something from that. That was a really, really wild crash course of basically just how I go about starting to make a song. So these are the first two tracks of this cover. But yeah, hopefully you learned something about how this stuff works. And if you haven't, I'm sure there are many, many other people who explain it much, much better than I have. So I encourage you, if this video piqued your interest, to go ahead and search those up. Personally, I can recommend Andrew Huang is a really, really good music YouTuber. Sanjay C is another one. So, and I'll link both of them in the description if you're interested in finding out more about music production and how this whole wonderful world of recording and editing and making music in this way, if you're interested in learning about that stuff. So I hope you guys liked that. This is the kind of content that I eventually want to make every week. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you are ready to see a lot more. So on that note, I have a bone to pick with you all. So I'm here looking at my YouTube statistics, and I can see that 71% of you all who are watching are not subscribed. Now I know a lot of you follow me on Instagram, but it would be really, really helpful if you also subscribe to me on YouTube if you're really interested in watching these videos. Subscribers are the #1 statistic that helps me get more prevalent on YouTube. It would really help that if you're enjoying these videos and if you're watching them, to please, please, please subscribe to this YouTube channel as well as following me on Instagram. So all that stuff aside, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.